John, I'm glad that the Timberwolves faithful gave Karl Anthony Towns such a warm reception on Thursday night at Target Center. I'm not glad that we had to sit there and watch the Timberwolves defense and offense completely collapse. Let's get into both those things and where this team is headed here on the John Krasinski Show. This is part of TalkNorth.com. Best way to listen to this show or any show at the network. Subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's easy. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. We're going to thank Princeton's Liquors, TSR Injury Law, True Vision Institute, Head Flyer Brewing, and Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line. Thanks to everyone who listens. We hope you have a great time over the holiday season, and we'll be back talking to you soon. Let's get right to it. Where do you want to start? You want to start with the reception or the devastation?
I think let's start with the probably the devastation, right? I mean, we will get to the heartwarming part and maybe finish that way so people go into their Christmases, their holidays with a little bit of hot cocoa in their tummy. But, just the thing that really stood out to me, in that game was Karl Anthony Towns just absolutely wrecking the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves looking so inept offensively, and unable to even have a prayer of keeping up with the Knicks. I mean, I think it was a real nightmare scenario for this team in Cat's first game back. I mean, he was unbelievable, but then also it wasn't just that Karl Anthony Towns was so good. It was that the Wolves offense was so bad, that you put those two things together. And I understand why a lot of people are really nervous and really upset right now.
Yeah, it was really ugly. And they were coming off a really good 7-game stretch where the defense was excellent. I mean, I guess I'm not shocked that the offense looked clunky again coming out of a bit of a break. I am shocked that the defense was that bad. Other than Karl just being incredibly efficient and productive, did the Knicks do anything, strategically that gave the Wolves trouble, or did the Wolves just play bad?
Well, I think that, first of all, I mean, the Knicks are, they're an excellent and elite offensive team in this league. So to see them come out and shoot the ball well and have Karl Anthony Towns play well offensively, I mean, that wasn't a big surprise. You certainly wanted to see the Wolves put up a little bit more of a fight defensively, and make them work a little bit harder than they had to for that scoring. But the Knicks they're just really, really good offensively. And so that part of it was not as big of a surprise. But when you look at national television, when you look at kind of the emotions of the night, the challenge of going against one of their guys, to see the offense against a Knicks defense that has been less than mediocre. They've been in the bottom half of the league in defensive rating all season long. To see them just sort of trip over each other. I saw Dante DiVincenzo and Anthony Edwards just run into each other at the top of the key, kind of in the second half. And just, I mean, it looked like they didn't know who they were playing with. And so it felt to me less about what the Knicks were doing defensively. Certainly, I think Bridges did a nice job against Edwards, and OG Anunoby did a nice job, but I think it was really more of a lack of a plan, of a lack of any kind of identity by the Timberwolves on offense that made them look so lost. Anthony Edwards did talk about it after the game, and I asked him, when you see Edwards drive to the rim right now, there are 3 people waiting for him there. There's his guy, there's the guy sagging off of Rudy Gobert, and there's the guy sagging off of Julius Randle. And so that is a major, major problem for this offense right now. They just cannot seem to get the spacing that they need to get Anthony Edwards any kind of clear lanes to the basket, and that is where he's at his most dynamic, is doing that. And so if you take that out of the equation for the Timberwolves from an offensive perspective, they don't have a whole lot else to lean on right now.
No, they don't. And I also thought it was interesting when we were talking to Mike Conley. It was, as you said, Edwards is like, hey, when I drive, there are 4 people there, which is accurate. And he said he had some ideas, but he didn't want to share them with us. And then we talked to Mike Conley. He said, hey, maybe we need more structure. Maybe we need to know where everybody is so you can operate instead of everybody just trying to cut willy-nilly, and you do have people running into each other out there.
Yeah, it's that was a very interesting comment, because Chris Finch has talked really for the last several weeks now about more structure and about calling more plays and about kind of being more of an orchestrator for the team's offense. By his nature, Chris Finch is a coach that would prefer if a team can run a free-flowing offense, can kind of get themselves organized and then just play instinctual basketball and react to what the defense is doing right in front of them. But what we have seen so far, especially in this new iteration of the Wolves post-trade with new faces in Dante DiVincenzo and in Julius Randle, is that they do not seem to have the ability to play and react and just react to what's in front of them. I think they do need Chris Finch to say, all right, run, this is very rudimentary, run play X and do that and go through all of the actions and have someone else organize them for themselves, because right now it's just not working. And so the question that I'm trying to actually get more information on is, is Chris Finch actually trying to put more structure in and the players are just not executing that? Or has Finch kind of held on to that willingness or that just kind of inner belief that, no, if I stay with this a little bit longer, the guys will get it and eventually it'll lock into place and everything will be great. That part I'm still working on, because Finch has talked quite a bit about structure and about running plays and doing that. And if it's still not happening, it's either the players are not doing it or that Finch has been reluctant to do what is obvious that needs to happen now.
Yes, that's going to be interesting. Edwards himself, we know what the problems are. He wants to be, as he said, a downhill player, and he's going to the rim, and there are a million people there. Is that the entire reason he looks a little off out there? It's a weird season. He's up near the leaders in three-point shooting. His numbers generally look pretty good. To me, he's not passing the eye test. You look out there, and he just doesn't look like, a superstar player who can take over when he wants. He looks like a guy who's just kind of meandering.
Yeah, no, I kind of have the same feeling, Jim, because I asked Chris Finch that the last night in the press conference. It does not seem that there have been a lot of occasions this year where Anthony Edwards just has the game in the palm of his hand, like we have seen him do so often early in his career. He has had great games this season, but a lot of them have been primarily just he happens to hit 6 or 7 threes in a game, and that opens everything up, and he does it. There's been rarer the occasion where Edwards has this really kind of overpowering combination of get to the basket, get to the mid-range, knock down threes, and really just enforce his will on the opposing team. And I do think that they are really missing right now the spacing that Karl Anthony Towns brought to this team. They were not a great offensive team last year, just for the context. They were 17th in the league in offensive rating last year. That's the bottom half of the league. And so I don't want to romanticize what he brought on that end of the floor. That said, it was clear that with Rudy Gobert out there as well, you need someone to draw more people out of the paint. And Julius Randle has had some solid games from three. Last night he was 4 for 8 from three, so that was good. But he is not the threat that Karl Anthony Towns is. I think that opponents are willing to live with Julius Randle making a bunch of threes on them if they can take away the rim runs that Anthony Edwards has, because that's what really kind of can strike fear in the heart of another defense, is if Edwards gets going that way. And so what you're seeing is defenses ignoring Julius Randle on the perimeter, ignoring Jaden McDaniels on the perimeter, and ignoring Rudy Gobert all of the time and just absolutely throwing everything they have at Edwards. And so that's a frustrating thing for him to deal with. He had 7 assists last night, to his credit, and he was moving the ball early to try and get other people involved. And when that kind of sputtered out, and when the second quarter happened and they couldn't get a bucket, then you saw Edwards try to force things a little bit and try to, you had so many 0 pass or 1 pass possessions that ended with either an Edwards jumper or a Julius Randle leaner or something like that. And it just turned into really, really bad offense. And so, what is the antidote to that? I mean, Jim, we might be getting closer to some kind of change in the starting lineup. If you put Naz Reid in there over Julius Randle, I know that Naz is not shooting well. He was 1 for 7 last night, but I do think that his reputation as a shooter will be a little bit more pressure on the defense than Randle has been. And maybe then you put Randle as the featured guy in the second unit in a few more non-Ant minutes, and maybe that helps. I know there's a lot of risks with that. I know there's a lot of political ramifications to it, but we're looking at a team that just is not scoring and has not been scoring for a very long time. They're ranked 21st in the league in offense right now. And so they have to start thinking about bigger changes to what they're doing on that end of the floor if they want to kind of unlock their offensive potential here.
Is there any way to do it to basically achieve the same result without having the big news-breaking, attention-grabbing move that Julius Randle isn't starting? Is there a way to just manipulate minutes and units playing together where you could get Naz with Ant more without actually having to have the press conference about Julius Randle being benched?
Yeah, it's just really hard, Jim, because you can start Randle and then pull him early in the game and get Naz in there. And then you finish with Naz. There are things you can do, but I think one of the motivations of making a more official move like that would be to try to get Naz Reid on track, to try and show hey, so here's some confidence in you as, a guy who's really viewed as a core piece moving forward. This season, last season he shot 41% from 3. This season he's at 34.6. And he does not look comfortable right now, or in any kind of rhythm from a scoring, shooting standpoint. He has, to his credit, outside of last night, done a good job defensively and providing energy that way, getting more rebounds, things like that. But one of the things that makes him so dynamic as a player is that he can hit threes, he makes quick decisions offensively, he can make plays, go to the basket, and there's none of that is working for him right now. And so I think that, if you did put him in the starting lineup, that could be a vote of confidence, that could be, making him more of a featured part of the offense, and maybe that helps unlock Reid to a degree. But I do understand, and I don't think it's just as easy as, oh yeah, we're just going to, put Julius on the bench and put Naz in. No, there are real human element ramifications you have to look at when making a move like that. And I understand why Chris Finch has been reluctant to do that. It's just what you wonder now is how deep into a season do you have to get before you really consider something like that.
I'll say thank you to everyone who's listened to the John Krasinski Show all year. Also check out the Viking Update Show. John and I provide the veteran writer's view of this great Viking season. Just so many great shows on the network. We have big plans for 2025, so stay tuned. Follow Talk North or us on whatever social media outlet you use. I'm using Blue Sky more than anything else right now, but I'm on all of them. And just a reminder, we have Randy Shaver's High School Football Show, Mike Grimm on the Gophers. Don Mitchell did had a great interview this week with Karen Nelson, the Vikings league counsel, Mark Rosen's wife, on her fascinating life. We're going to have replay Dawn's interview with Chris Hockey, which is fantastic. Highly recommend that. That'll be out over the next week. Jeff Diamond, the former Vikings general manager, John Millay, Kevin Gorg, Bar Down Beauties, Russo, LaPanta, Roy Smalley, Lavelle Neal, and the Twins. Check it all out. We do appreciate it. And again, we have some really cool stuff coming in the new year. Right now, I want to thank longtime sponsor, Princeton's Liquors.
Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. Bill Princeton and the Princeton family have been in the liquor business for decades and decades. You know where they are. They're in Maple Grove. And if you, this holiday season, are looking for unique bourbon, if you're looking for great craft beer, Princeton's Liquors is the place to go. This is the time of year we're all gathering for, a little work social hours. We're gathering with family and friends. We like to kind of bring something that kind of turns heads and is something that maybe people haven't seen before. Go to Princeton's Liquors. They will hook you up with some of the best bourbon, some of the best craft beer. Oh yes, of course they still have wine, spirits, everything else that you want, but their specialties, bourbon and craft beer. And what party in a holiday season is complete without some really good bourbon, without a unique and local craft beer? Go to Princeton's Liquors. This family has invested in the in the Minneapolis community for a very long time. Bill Princeton was an intern with the Timberwolves and Lynx back in the day, right around 2000. So he's been a part of this basketball community as well. Support the businesses that support us and that are in this community. Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove.
I got a really important stat for you as we talk about Naz Reid. Naz Reid is shooting 100% when Steve Terry passes him the basketball.
How about that? I mean, he just Steve Terry got a great assist there. Just an unbelievable acting job. And Naz, who better to be aligned with in the local sports market than Naz Reid? Just a great dream team pairing with those two.
No doubt. Two great guys. TSR Injury Law. If you're injured, call 612-TSR-TIME. You know the number. You know the drill. They won't charge you unless you win your case. They win a lot of cases. That's how they got to a point where they could hang out with Naz Reid. Thanks to Steve Terry for everything he's done for us. We do appreciate it. All right, John, tell us about True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute in Bloomington is the place to go. TrueVision.com. Go there, schedule a consultation like I did back last summer. You go there, you meet some just incredibly warm and wonderful people. They take you through all of the steps to evaluate what the best pathway is for vision correction for you. For me, it was LASIK surgery, and forever and ever I'd wanted to get LASIK surgery, but always was wondering, is this really as good as everyone says it is? And I'm telling you, it is as good or better than everyone says it is. My life has been so much easier. I get a lot of compliments about looking younger without my glasses. I feel just more convenient, more free just in daily life. The vision has been impeccable, and I have nothing but True Vision and Dr. Chu to thank for my vision correction. It is truly life-changing. I don't have to worry about glasses or contacts anymore for the first time since I was in 4th grade. I don't have to worry about scheduling eye appointments, about staying on tap with all of the best and the most stylish frames and all the things like that. Right now, I'm just glasses free. I'm contacts free. I'm going forward with life. And that's all thanks to True Vision. So go to TrueVision.com to set up your consultation. Tell them the John Krasinski Show sent you.
How would Julius Randle handle this move if it ever happened?
I don't know. I really don't know. He is a very proud player. He is up for the he's kind of just up for a contract this summer, so there's a long-term ramifications that he's thinking about. He really wants to be a guy that helps this team and that kind of shows that he still has a ton left in the tank, and he's put up some solid numbers so far, some really solid numbers. And I just really but I also really think that if you pull him out of the starting lineup, there is going to be, some very much disappointment. I don't know how engaged he would be in it. Maybe he would. Maybe he would embrace it and become like the microwave performer off of the bench. But also I do think there is concern that he would really kind of have a hard time with it. And so I'm not sure. It is a real question. I think that what the Wolves would have to talk to him about is that this would not only be good for the team if they truly believe that this would work, but it would also be good for Julius Randle in terms of getting him in positions to be more of a featured guy, to be able to do things the way that he wants to be able to do them. so much of it. So there's a lot to think about there. And I think all of that backstory and all of that context is factoring in to the decisions that are being made right now, as it should. I do think if you're Chris Finch, if you're looking at what is going to be the best to unlock this team going forward, I think that you have to consider the human element. You have to consider, the X's and O's and all of it. And so that is it's a subject that would require a lot of conversation, I think. And I do think that they're probably trying to avoid firing that bullet until they really have to, but we might be getting to that point.
Let's talk about Dillingham next and look ahead to a rematch with the Mavericks coming up here. First, want to let you know that we do a lot of live shows at Head Flyer Brewing. We've had Chris Finch, Tim Connolly, Jim Peterson, Michael Grady, Dane Moore. It's been a blast. What's going on at Head Flyer Brewing right now?
Head Flyer Brewing, they are gearing up for their New Year's Eve party, Jim. And if you've been to a live show at Head Flyer Brewing, you know that it's a great place to go in Northeast Minneapolis. Open tap room, airy, everything is great. In terms of the beer selection, in terms of seltzers, in terms of the merch you can buy there. They also have really big screen TVs, really comfortable place to go and watch a game. And on New Year's Eve, Head Flyer is hosting a New Year's Eve party. And the Timberwolves game figures prominently in those plans. So on New Year's Eve, you go to Head Flyer. They have happy hour deals from noon until tip off. So if you get to the tap room early in the day, that's okay. You can still get your happy hour deals all day long at Head Flyer. At 7 p.m., the Wolves face off against the Thunder. They'll have seltzer shots that become available and free shots for every Wolves dunk. So this could get pretty crazy if everything goes well for the Wolves that night. There's also going to be halftime commentary from the band Four on the Floor and halftime giveaways. And then they will have a post-game concert until midnight. This tap room is going to stay open until 12:30 a.m. So if you're looking for something to do on New Year's Eve, you're looking for a really fun and inviting place to go and spend time with your friends, spend time with Wolves fans, go to Head Flyer Brewing in Northeast Minneapolis. Again, happy hour deals from noon till tip-off. Watch the Wolves game, and then enjoy a concert from Four on the Floor and some halftime giveaways as well.
I highly recommend Four on the Floor as well as Head Flyer Brewing. Let's also hear about Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line.
Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line. Go to sglambchops.com with the promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything that you want at Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing. It is super stylish, super comfortable casual wear, sweatpants, hoodies, t-shirts, hats, whatever you could want from Jordan, from Craig, from the local SG Lamb Chops. It's just a great local company. They have a collaboration with the Timberwolves that you can pick up some of their goods at Target Center, Timberwolves related, but then anything else with the casual wear, go to sglambchops.com and get your 20% off with JONK20. It is high quality, super comfortable, super stylish stuff. You can wear it at home, lounging around and watching games. You can wear it out in the North Loop on a weekend night and still feel like you're going to fit in great. Another very local company that we love to support, that has been so supportive of us, that is deeply involved in the basketball community here in Minneapolis and St. Paul in the Twin Cities. So sglambchops.com is the place to go. JONK20 for 20% off anything that you get there.
How long do you think it will take for Dillingham to be ready to really be a reliable performer for this team?
Yeah, it's a good question because, we've all been kind of waiting for him to get a regular rotation role. And he certainly came in last night, and he was part of the group in the start of the second quarter where things just got absolutely out of control. The Knicks just gashed that group from an offensive standpoint. And then the Wolves offense just couldn't get anything going. They only scored 2 points in the first 6 minutes of the second quarter. And so, when you look at what they what Rob needs to do. It's okay that he didn't play great or that things didn't go perfectly. He was 2 for 7 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3, had a couple of turnovers. He did not play well. But the problem is that he is 19 years old and there's going to be games where he just doesn't play well. But you need to kind of keep throwing him out there and keep getting him reps and experience and minutes so that he can kind of build up some of the just some of the confidence and some of the rhythm that he needs to do his best work. This offense is really struggling right now, especially getting in transition, and that is one of Dillingham's specialties. And so they might be at a point where even when things are not going well for him, you still got to keep throwing him out there, because the long play is that when he gets settled in, when he finds his rhythm, he can be really dynamic for them. And they need dynamic players on offense right now.
Yes. By the way, programming note, this is kind of standing in for our holiday week show. We will be getting back to you in the new year. Once again, we appreciate everybody listening, appreciate all of our sponsors. It's been a blast to work with John and to see what he could do with this show. It's been one of the strengths of our network. So thanks to John as well. I'll just throw it open. What other thoughts do you have about this team right now?
Yeah, one thing that I do think is probably important for Timberwolves fans right now, who are very upset with how the things are going, especially after Towns absolutely dominated them in the game on Thursday night, is, they just think that we never should have made the trade. This team is going nowhere. I really don't believe that. They had prior to this loss, which was a very bad one, there's no question. They had won 6 of 7 games. They had played really, really good defense. They had started to lock in, at least on that end of the floor. They still have a lot of things to work on from an offensive standpoint, from a connection standpoint, but I don't think that all is lost for this team. I think that they had a very bad game on national TV against their old face of the franchise, who absolutely killed them. But it doesn't have to be, the end of the season. This is an 82 game season, and there are nights where things do not go their way. It went about as poorly as it possibly could have gone last night for the Timberwolves. They do have a lot of things that they need to look at, especially offensively. But overreaction is always going to be kind of the bent for Wolves fans, or for any fans, especially in an era where I think the NFL influences so much the reactions of fans to single games. And so I would just say that I still see a very, very talented team that just has to figure things out. And we are 26 games into the season. I understand the impatience. I expected things to look better than they have so far. But all is not lost. And I think there are solutions. There are, guys can play better, guys can shoot better, and they can find themselves. It just right now, in the wake of 32, 20, and 6 assists from Karl Anthony Towns, it doesn't feel good. And I get that.
All right, let's wrap up this show and this year with your thoughts on Karl Anthony Towns' return.
Yeah, I was happy for him in terms of he got a great standing ovation. The Timberwolves did a great job of giving him a couple of different tribute videos, one for his playing, for his on the court achievements, and one for his achievements in the community. He clearly was really touched by the reception from the fans. He met with a couple of community groups that he worked with before the game, donated $25,000 to them. So just being a good human being that way. And, Jim, we've seen former players come in here and get booed, like Kevin Love and Jimmy Butler, and kind of leave on bad terms. But Karl left on good terms. He told me before the game he did not want to leave. He was surprised at it. He's happy in New York. Things are going great there for him. But there's certainly still a connection to Minnesota, and he still feels like a part of this. And he said he's a Timberwolves fan. Like he keeps in touch with all of these guys, and there's a big piece of him from his 9 years here. So it was very heartwarming that way just to see, a guy who sometimes had a complicated relationship with fans, and some of the fans expressed frustration with, how he played in certain points of his career here, but they gave him, a huge ovation. He was really touched by it. And then, man, he looked great in the game. He really, really played well. He dominated Rudy Gobert. He kicked Julius Randle's butt, and he walked out of there feeling pretty good about where he is now, but also, really kind of making the point that he'll continue to come back here and continue to feel good about things going forward.
Great stuff, John. Great year. Appreciate all the work. We'll talk to you in the new year. Have a great holiday.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jim.